Good evening. This is the agriculture segment for Western Wisconsin Journal. I'm Richard Schauger, the correspondent, and today we're going to talk about safety operator's license in the program here for all of Wisconsin. So to get started, I have a guest, and she is the agriculture teacher at New Richmond High School, and I'm going to let her introduce herself.
Thanks for having me. My name is Rachel Sauvola, and I'm the agriculture instructor and FFA advisor at New Richmond High School. I've been there for 12 years now, and it seems like yesterday that I just got started. You had asked earlier a little bit about how I got started being an agri-science instructor. And quite honestly, it is the traditional farm roots that my dad instilled in me. I grew up on a dairy farm, first off in Johnson Creek, Wisconsin, a tiny little community between Madison and Milwaukee. And it's not so tiny little anymore because certainly urban sprawl is happening there. And then from there, my dad decided to sell our family farm and go on to Stoughton, Wisconsin, to become a herdsman on a larger corporate farm. My dad's presently an organic farmer. He, after 50 years, shifted gears a little bit. But throughout that program, my dad tricked me into going to an FFA meeting when I was in 7th grade. And I always said I didn't want to be involved in agriculture. I had milked too many cows as a kid, fed too many calves, and said, "Dad, that's not for me. I'm not doing that." Well, he said, "Get in the car, Rachel, we're going to town." And he took me to school to an FFA meeting. Of course, he'd been the president when he was in high school, and we could join in 7th grade. So actually, I got hooked quite quickly on the organization and the leadership, and went to a leadership conference at UW River Falls in that 7th grade year, and decided right then and there that, darn it, I was going to influence agriculture and influence young people, and committed myself to a career as an agri-science educator, and FFA advisor, which I love. Every day is a fun day to go to work, so it's great.
I should mention, when you mentioned that at UW River Falls, I live in Hudson. This is being taped in Hudson, and we're like 15 miles from New Richmond, and on the other side is River Falls, which is 12 miles away. The UW River Falls is considered the premier ag program for the state. And I was just talking to somebody from there, and they were from Manawak. I said, "What are you doing coming over here?" Because this has the premier program, at least in his eyes. I want to ask you, while you said that, sometimes the audience doesn't understand certain questions, and one is organic. So what do you mean by organic farming?
Well, my dad is presently working for Gary Zimmer, who is the guru of organic farming at the farm at the home base, Otter Creek Dairy. And he is farming without the use of traditional chemicals and making sure to do things in an earth-friendly way. If you feed your soil the appropriate way, again, your crops and your animals will be more healthy as we get more toward a chemical-free sort of way of thinking. So it's been very, very positive for him, but a big change after doing something for 50 years the traditional way, you know. So he's loving it, and it's been fun to learn from him as a result of the changes that he's made.
And there are getting to be more and more organic farms in the state, I understand.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So now we segued from what we were going to talk about, which is
happens.
The safety operator's license. And the first segment that I did last month was on the tractor restoration, and you're going to see the completion of that following this interview. So, the kids put the tractor together, they have it. Now we got tractors, so we have to think about doing this safely. Sure. So tell us what's the curriculum for safety operator's license?
Sure. Traditionally, Dick, this is a program that youth get involved with, and a lot of our students come to us when they are 10 and 11, 12 years old. This is a program that happens for at least 24 hours of training minimum, and then they go through a test portion and a hands-on tractor driving portion to be able to receive their permit. We call it a permit rather than really a license because we don't want students to equate it with just because you've had this safety permit, you know everything. So here's your powerful license. So we call it a permit, and basically if they are taking the program and they are less than 14 years old, they're issued at the end, if they satisfactorily pass their examinations, they are issued a state permit that simply says they've passed a state safety certificate program, much like you would for snowmobile safety, hunter safety, all of those sorts of programs. And then at the age of 14, they are eligible for a federal safety permit for tractor operation and machinery operation. And so, say for example, a student takes it before they're 14, they would get the state one, and when they turn 14, they can go to their county extension office and turn that permit in for a federal one. And basically, they keep that in their safety deposit box at home if they're going to be employed on somebody else's farm rather than the home farm. Showing the farmer that permit just lets them know that they've been through the ropes, through the safety ropes, and have satisfactorily passed their exams.
So there's two components. There's a classroom or
Yes.
Written instruction, and then there's the behind the wheel, so to speak, or
Absolutely.
on the tractor.
Absolutely.
Now, can you tell us a little bit more about what's entailed in the classroom part?
Sure.
Okay.
That's actually my specialty. For our county group that gets together, typically you'll find these programs in county clusters.
Okay.
Maybe it's just ours for St. Croix County. There are 4 egg teachers that work together to put together the program each summer. But I know in Barron and Chippewa, they work together. So there are different ones around the state. And as you look at the written portion of things, basically with their entry fee that they pay, they receive this Safe Operation of Agricultural Equipment manual, and they'll be able to take that with them and be able to use it as a reference. And we go through chapter by chapter. They're learning about the gauges and the controls on the tractor. They're learning how to properly do a safety and maintenance check. They're learning about speeds and rollover issues and everything that you could possibly imagine about the tractor, but then also pulling implements behind them. And when they get outside, they practice and do things with a 2-wheeled implement and then a 4-wheeled implement. As a bonus then, if we have extra time or we have a really great group of students that has had a lot of prior experience, we also might do a skid loader safety or other things as well.
So where do you get the tractors?
Well, in each community that hosts the safety program, they usually contract with an implement dealer. For example, when I came to New Richmond, we used our local Pulfus implement, which is now Frontier Ag and Turf, to get the tractors and the implements. But now that we host our program at St. Croix Central High School, we use Value Implement in Baldwin.
And for the audience, we're in Hudson right now. New Richmond is on the northern border of St. Croix County. Very rich farm community around it. St. Croix County is in Hammond, which is also on I-94, due east of us here, and actually is closer to the center of western part of St. Croix County. So, okay, so now you got the tractors, and you have different tractors so that they can get a chance for. We should also mention that one of the reasons for doing this is farming is a very dangerous business. It's very satisfying. It can be very lucrative, so to speak, but it is very dangerous. So safety for the person running it and for those who are near is just very, very, very important.
Absolutely.
And I believe that, yeah. So who can take the program?
Well, absolutely anybody could take the program. We've even had moms of students come through the program. It's just important to, again, like you said, realize the safety that's involved on the farm and they may not have had that experience. Each summer, the group of students we gather is also very different. Some come to us with traditional farm hands-on experience, but we've also had young men and young ladies come to us and they've never driven a riding lawnmower, they have never even been on a tractor, and our task is to teach them from the very basic level. You know, they don't even know how to turn it on. Yeah. And so we see all different caliber of experience related to the people who come to us to take the class.
Are there some kids from the cities and towns here that take it, so then they have, after they get the license, they can work on a farm if they want to during the summer?
Absolutely. Yep, yeah, absolutely.
Which is nice.
And with their grandparents and their parents, maybe the neighbor could use a little helper, and so they're taking it for all sorts of different reasons. One of our other challenges with the kids that we get is that sometimes their parents send them to tractor safety and they can't even really reach the pedals. Oh. And so, again, we have all sorts of challenges ahead of us, and some of the students will require extra practice. We always tell them each and every night, your homework is to hook up a little wagon to your lawnmower, get out there and start practicing. Practice backing up and doing all of those things. Throughout the course and the week that we're together, we also emphasize just the initial checking of the tractor and how important it is for you to do a walk around. We stage little balloon animals under the tires, stuffed animals here or there, you know, because it's so important to be able to check the surroundings and not just be worried and concerned about yourself. It's also everything around you.
Yep, very good. I'm sure that's very, very important. And I know from experience, we still have the family farm, even though I'm living in town now. And I've driven lots of tractors and cranked lots of tractors. You don't crank any tractors now.
No, in fact, that's interesting you bring that up, because getting our implements and our tractors from the Value Implement in Baldwin, everything is new and modern and up to date. And we have kids that don't know how to operate that equipment because they have older stuff on the farm where they live or work. And so that's also sometimes a struggle in getting them brought up to speed on hydrostatics and the different terminology and uses and ways in which things function now as opposed to yesterday.
Do you also work with tractors that both have a foot clutch as well as a hand clutch?
Most of the things that we have are typically right now still foot things, yeah. But again, when they get the skid steer in, operating that, controlling with your hands is also very interesting to the kids. So, yeah.
I still think one of the most difficult things is to back up a four-wheel trailer. And I see these people back up four-wheel trailers loaded with hay into the hay mouse, and it goes just perfectly, and I've backed a lot of trailers, but that is difficult. Do you do a little bit of that?
Absolutely. That's one of the things we have on the four-wheel. We just have a running gear that the kids use. But part of their test is using cones. We set up a shed that they have to back up perfectly into, and they lose points. On top of little cones, we have golf balls. So if the golf balls fall off and they're too close, then they'll lose points and have to redo it. And some even have to come back a whole nother day after practicing. But really, it's practice, just like with anything.
Yeah, right. Can you tell us, it's an extension agent? How do they contact the county extension agent, or how do they get involved so they'll know where to go?
Typically, the county extension agent would have the information, but like I said, a lot of us are organized by agriculture teacher groups. For our county in particular, Bill Emery at St. Croix Central High School is kind of our contact. They could certainly get in touch with me, or any of the agriculture programs would have typically the contact. Otherwise, UW Extension works great as well to get the information out. There is a cost involved with the program, partially because of the manuals that the kids get, and then we also charge them for a little bit of the fuel that we use, that's a lot of the tractor operation. So ours is a $30 fee. That might vary county to county.
Which is very minimal.
For the
where
experience.
Can you take a course for $30 these days?
Yep, it's true. So it's good.
Yeah. Do you get kids that come also from the other side of the river? So you get some city kids from St. Paul or
We've only had a couple of those kids, and that's because mom or dad lives and works in our county, and they need that experience. But typically, it is just a group of about usually 25 to 30 students from our 4 school districts. Sometimes River Falls will come up and take our program in St. Croix County, being that they're divided on the county line. But yeah.
St. Croix County is a rather large county. So is there a similar program in eastern St. Croix County?
We all pool together. So Glenwood City, Baldwin, St. Croix Central, and New Richmond, we put the program on together.
Yeah, okay, so it's a county program. Yeah, and I think the same is true in Polk County. So,
yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. And it's very nice to know that that's really statewide and that this is just a program that everybody should do. If you read anything about the statistics about accidents on the farm, it is just, and I had a student that died on a very good student from St. Paul, was with Grandpa, and his arm got caught in the baler, took it off and bled to death. And I mean, just heartbreaking, junior in high school. So, and when I heard about this program, because I was my grandson up, he was one of those in the tractor restoration, I just firmly believe in safety. It's just incredible because it is very dangerous. Now, do you do, and of course every kid, once they drive a little bit, want to try the road gear because it's fast. So do you do any work with that where they got to?
No, we do not do road gear in tractor safety, typically because, again, the level of the students are so varying that, again, they're going to go home and they're going to practice probably their road gear, those that are ready for that. But so many of them are just coming in and they're timid and scared. And quite honestly, sometimes we're scared to get on board with them because of their lack of experience. So it just varies kid to kid and year to year.
We probably should explain what road gear is, because the old tractors really didn't have a road gear. You could go 4 miles an hour or 5 miles an hour, but that's not true today with the new tractors, right?
Right.
So do you want to tell the audience what road gear is?
Why don't you go ahead? Let's hear your experience.
I don't know the speed. Well, I know that some of the speeds that they have, some of them go 15, 16 miles an hour or faster, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you really have to have control.
Yes.
Because if you get off in the ditch, there's no way to pull it back on. And I can tell you from plowing for hours and hours, one of the biggest things also in the safety here is fatigue.
Absolutely.
I mean, there was times it's going well and you're mindless, and I've driven down in the ditch and back up again because I was to the end of the furrow and here I am, let's go, which is, and you got to know what's going on at that point, and I'm sure you talk about that too.
Oh, absolutely, being aware. One of the activities I do with the kids involves them using a steering wheel, and we just pretend with our books, but talking about just the sheer impact of having control of the situation, and gawkers looking, and then they see that their steering wheel suddenly goes to the left or to the right when I yell out, "Oh, look at that, da-da-da, over there," and so it truly is a big part about being aware, and we cover those statistics, and we talk about how students ages 10 to 19 are, unfortunately, in conjunction with those over 65, the most prone to agricultural issues revolving around safety and equipment because they're either careless or they don't know any better or, those sorts of things.
Or they can't handle the monotony of it.
Right,
which
absolutely.
Is. I mean, it is for them. Well, it sounds like a fabulous program, and this is really great, and I'm glad you could come here and talk about it. I really, really appreciate it. Now, is there anything you want to say to the audience that you haven't said already?
Well, I just would like to emphasize this is just one small piece of what we do in agricultural education. And agricultural education is so very important in all of our local communities. It's really necessary for students to understand where their food comes from and how it makes it from the field to the freezer and the table in that process. And so as we look at this sort of safety program also, in many of our communities across the state, we've taken this concept and we've broadened it out into safety days. For example, New Richmond FFA is hosting our safety day next week, where tractor safety will be one station, but we believe that our young people today, and our target in New Richmond is 4th grade, really need to be more aware of safety issues. They're home alone more often as parents work, and so 19 stations worth of safety topics we'll have at our annual safety day next week. And we work with a program called Community Safety Net that solicits businesses to help produce safety manuals that, again, each 4th grader will get to take home. And the focus is on all topics about being safe. We talk about kitchen safety, we talk about bike safety, we talk about safety around small animals, large animals. And so those sorts of programs in our community are really necessary. And each year we receive thank you notes from parents and community members that really say thank you for taking the time out of your life to teach the kids about this. And the cool part about it, I think, for our high school students is that they're teaching the younger kids also, getting those experiences. So whatever it is, agricultural education, the leadership, the citizenship, those sorts of things are so important. And it's a place where a lot of students feel at home. And they may not come from farms or traditional ag backgrounds, but they have a genuine interest in maybe more of the up-and-coming things, the biotechnology, or, the world, it's endless. I mean, in agriculture, there are 300 plus careers, and only one of those is being a farmer, no matter what he or she farms. So, and in all things agriculture, safety is really important. So,
very good. I thank you very much.
Yeah,
and,
you're welcome.
I hope a lot of people get in your program and farm safety becomes the #1 issue.
Sure, absolutely. It's so important.
Very well. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
And now the part 2, you will get a chance to see the video of the finishing of the tractor restoration, which was in Centuria, Wisconsin, which is north of here. So thank you very much for watching.